Hi everyone, this is Amber Zuxford, and I have the pleasure to sit here and get to interview and chat with Kate Magic, who is coming down to Costa Rica to teach her Raw Chef certification course in January. How are you, Kate?
I'm magic. How are you, Amber?
Really good.
You
So,
epic.
are you? I'm epic, exactly. So, where are you right now? Are you home?
I'm at home, yeah, in Brighton. It's November. It's my birthday month, and I'm actually really happy because I'm not teaching any classes all month. So I'm going to really just relax, do lots of yoga, look after myself.
Oh, that sounds wonderful because you've had a
Yeah.
really busy year, right?
Yeah, actually, not as busy as last year and the year before. I was really super busy, and it started getting a bit much. So this year, I just slowed down a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, for those that are watching that don't know your work, would you mind telling us a little bit about your backstory, how you got into raw foods, what you've been
Uh-huh.
doing in the movement, and how you started doing certification programs?
Uh-huh. So I've been raw for 21 years, which is an amazing thing to be able to say. Raw vegan,
Amazing.
yeah, because a lot of people turn around and say, oh, you can't do raw vegan, but I've been raw vegan for 21 years. Um, it was just an intuitive thing with me, and I just really didn't like the food I was given as a child. I didn't like normal food. And as a teenager, I became vegetarian, then I became vegan, and then as a vegan, I was eating mostly fruit and salads. So it was an intuitive thing. And then I discovered about raw foods in 93, I think it was. And I was introduced to the work of Anne Wigmore and Victorious Kovinskas. So that was when I realised that there was a thing called being a raw fooder. And that's when I kind of started. But it's so fascinating. Just this year in England, this year is the year it's really become trendy in
Oh,
England. And
great.
it's so mad for me to because it's such a personal thing for me because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And it's to come from a place when it didn't exist, like no one knew what it was, it just wasn't a thing, to a point where now we can get almond milk, raw almond milk, in the high street. We can get green juice in the high street. It's like, yeah, and it's in the magazines. It's becoming yeah, trendy. So it's really fantastic. It's really exciting to be part of the movement now, because I just believe that the food we eat has more impact on anything else than the way we live our lives and how we view the world and how we operate in the world. And I think, there's so much sadness in the world. There's so much, if you're sticking with the mainstream viewpoint, it's tragic and it's heartbreaking, and it's just, I don't have enough words for how sad that whole viewpoint is.
Yeah.
And so we really need to change that. And I think by changing the way we eat is the best way that we can change ourselves, and then we can bring positivity into the world.
Absolutely. So you started, your own journey. You were making your own food and things like that. When did you start teaching other people how to make raw food?
Well, I was really lucky. I just would write down my recipes for friends, really, in the beginning. And because people would say, I say eat raw food, and then people would say, what do you eat? Because I would think you just eat lettuce and bananas.
Good.
So I'd say, I made a Thai curry, or we had a chocolate cake, and people would be like, who? So I'd write down my recipes for my friends and share them. And then I was really fortunate to get published. So I wrote to a few publishers and I got published straight away, because it's really hard to get published these days. But the first book came out in 2002. And then off the back of that, that's when I started teaching classes. And it's been really symbiotic, actually, because I've got three boys and I've home educated. So that's been a really full-time job. I did all the attachment parenting, co-sleeping, long-term breastfeeding, all that stuff. And
Wow.
it's been really symbiotic, as the bigger the boys get, the more popular raw foods gets. So the more time I have away, the free from the boys, if raw foods have been really popular in 2002, I wouldn't have been able to do so much because I was so full on with my parenting.
Of course.
But the bigger they get, the more popular raw foods get, so the more I actually have time to teach classes and go away. So it was really 2008 when I started traveling and teaching around, or 2009 maybe, but I started, traveling to around Europe and teaching classes, and it's been, needless to say, it's been amazing to just watch it grow. And very often I go back, I'll do something in a city one year, then go back the next year, and it's really amazing to go back the next year and see there's someone opened a new cafe, there's someone opened a new shop, there's someone doing a new catering business, and just how it grows, you know,
Isn't it?
year on year.
Oh, like that ripple effect
Yeah,
is so exciting, and
yeah,
you've planted a seed for so many people.
yeah. I love as well when you go back and you see them next year and they've all left their jobs and left their partners, and you're like, oh, but you were working in an office and you were married, and now you're like living in a teepee, and
Now you run a raw food restaurant and you're single and you're yeah. Wow. I know it does. It changes your life. And wow. I mean, there's no better feeling than knowing that you're planting that seed in someone
yeah,
and causing that massive
yeah,
change, positive change in someone's life.
yeah.
And I remember when I first came across your work, Kate, this was years ago when you were doing retreats and certification programs in India, in Goa.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And I considered coming to your program, but the flight for me and the time away was so challenging for me at the
Yeah,
time. I was extremely busy with school and work as well. But I always had wanted to come to one of your programs like way back then. And I've seen your evolution and seeing everything that you're doing, and it's just unbelievably inspiring. And the fact that you've raised your 3 boys raw as well, was that really challenging? And
no, people ask about that a lot, and I don't like the thing. I mean, we just said this before we started the call. I don't like the thing about feeling stuff is hard. You know,
yes,
people say, oh, it must be really hard. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's as hard as you make it. And also, why is hard bad? Do you know what I
agreed,
mean?
agreed,
It's like,
agreed. It's
let's
like,
just move away from that whole thing of like, this is difficult, because it's only difficult if you make it difficult. And even
agreed.
stuff that's challenging is the best stuff anyway.
It is. It's how you grow, and it's
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think because I'm home educated, that made a big difference because I'd been raw, I think, 7 years when I had my first child. So I was really
Oh,
kind of immersed in the lifestyle already.
very much so.
And I think the main thing I would say to parents, the main thing with children is it's about what they're getting exposed to. And that's what you really have to kind of be aware of, because if they're being exposed to people that are eating all kinds of foods, it's not fair to then deny them things and say you can't have that, and you know, if other people are eating stuff,
Right.
because it's not fair. So you have to really be aware of the environments you're putting them in and the people that they're being around, because if they're always in environments where people are clear and just, you know, eating organic whole foods, it doesn't have to be raw, but just kind of on that wavelength, then it's not an issue for them. But I think it only becomes issue if you put them into those places where people are operating very differently, and then yeah, it's kind of not fair to a child to say everyone else is eating this, but
So tell me a little bit more about your certification program.
uh-huh.
We're doing 12 days here in Costa Rica. We're doing a
Yes,
beginning, advanced, and a superstar course. Could you tell
yes,
everyone a little bit more about how you developed your certification program and what they can expect?
yeah, yeah. Well, I kind of never set out to be a teacher. I always knew I'd be a writer. I always wanted to be a writer and teacher, but I never thought I would like be teaching classes. But as I said, it just kind of happened, you know, just through demand. And what I feel is because, you know, I've been teaching for so long, I've really my classes have responded to what people want to know. So I didn't come along with like this idea of what I was going to say necessarily. I just kind of turn up and open my mouth. But then people ask questions, and it's so interesting because people ask the same questions, and they'll
Yes.
be like, "Well, how do you do it in winter?" And they think like no one's ever asked that question before. And you're like,
Right.
every week, you know. So you realise the themes, and
Yes.
you know, it's where I struggle as well. It's where we all struggle. There's
Yes.
certain areas where people are like, I'm not sure how to do it in this situation. I'm not sure how to do it when I'm feeling like this, or you know. So I've really understood what people need to know in order to make it sustainable.
Right.
And also I feel so blessed and so grateful that I know so many people who are doing raw foods and doing raw foods long term and making it work long term, and you can see the patterns that emerge
Sure.
with people like you and I that make it work, you know. So there's themes like green juice, you know, avocados. But there's themes that come through, and like, well, everyone that's actually doing this and making it work and really healthy and looking good, they're drinking lots of green juice. You know,
Yeah.
it's just one example. So then I can say, well, you know, these are the things that is going to make it work, to make it work long term, sustainable. And my whole approach is about making it really practical.
Yes.
So you know, I'm not coming from working in a retreat center. I'm not coming from working in a fancy restaurant. I'm coming from being a busy mum at home in a little kitchen, and on a budget. When the kids were tiny, as most parents can identify with, we had no money. When kids are small, the budget is so tight. So I had to learn how to do it when there's not a lot of cash in the bank. And so, yeah, just making it really practical, really easy for people, so you know what you're doing and you can carry on living your busy lifestyle, because most people nowadays have so much going on, and still manage to incorporate this in a way that's going to make it really, really practical and useful. So the first course is the 2-day course, and that's the beginner's one, and that's what's I've been teaching that for years and years now. I started off as a 4-hour and then it went to a 5-hour, and then it went to a 6-hour, and then I gave up and made it 8 hours because I could just never fit it all in. I don't know how I managed to fit it in 4 hours, but I'd always be running over time with people. So I've now split it up into 2 days and made it a whole weekend. So that's really nice. We can really relax and take our time, and that's for anyone who doesn't know anything about raw foods. It's just this is how to basic recipes and basic information to get you started, get you on the path. And then the second one is the 5-day course, and that's actually when the one you're talking about in Goa in India. That was actually the first time I ever taught it. And that was an amazing experience. We sold out, had 24 people, 24 amazing people. There was only 5 guys, I think, on the course, and one of them was in a relationship with one of the women on the course already, and one of them was gay, and the other 3 men all hooked up with women on the course. So, guys, if you're listening and you're looking for a raw food lady, my course is the place to come.
You're so right, Kate. I mean, it's hard to find raw vegan people and that are compatible, and absolutely, why not?
So the 5-day one is my favourite one to teach. To be honest, I love doing it because I give people everything. Well, when I wrote it, I thought that I was giving people everything I knew, and then actually I realised there was all this other stuff. So then I did the 3-day one, the superstar one, to go on the end of that, because there was all this other, like fermentation and stuff like that we don't do in the 5-day one. But it's it's everything. It's really, really detailed recipe breakdowns.
Right.
And what I try and show is not just a single recipe, but how to create your own recipes from that. So say we do a soup, but I really break down how to make soups and how you can make soup loads and loads of different ways, depending on what ingredients you got, what your favourite flavours are. So we do that with all the things. There's about 25 recipes, sweet and savoury drinks. And then also, so I make it really practical. There's loads of practical stuff, but also I really bring in the magic and the spirituality of it. And for me, as we started off saying, the whole point of this, what I love is when people come at the beginning and they think they're just coming to lose weight or whatever it is, and you're like, no, it's this whole world. So I love giving them that magic download of that connection to the way your thoughts create your reality, and that connection to your body and your thoughts, and just how eating this way is a total transformative process. And if you're giving people that information while they're eating the food, and you're in a group of like-minded people just, they're flying, they're so loving it, they're so flying, and they always leave with new best friends. It's very exciting for them.
Oh my gosh, I know. That's why I love retreats and I love teacher training programs, because there's nothing better than immersing fully in the lifestyle. And so you're learning, but you're feeling it along the journey. And that's the key, is they're feeling it. Because you could possibly get your own cookbooks and try it at home and do that, but there's nothing like fully immersing, like you said, in community with the support from you and the crew. There's nothing better than that. And getting away also, I mean, I think one of the benefits of us doing this in Costa Rica is that it gets you out of your everyday grind so that you can focus and feel those effects much more than you would if you were back home dealing with the kids, stressed about work, all those things. Wonderful. And then the advanced program is the next step, right?
Yeah, so that I've started doing that this year. I think I've only taught it a few times. I think I've taught it 2 or 3 times. But that's for people that already know their maca from their lucuma.
Yeah.
They're sprouting from their wheatgrass and know all that kind of stuff. And we just really have fun on that one. It's really, really fun. So I'm not kind of lecturing so much. I'm not going so much into the theory of everything because I'm assuming that you've got all that already. But
Sure.
we're making lasagnas and pizzas and yeah, fermentation and yeah, truffles, chocolate truffles, working with Irish moss, yeah, all
Yum.
that stuff. It's just fun, that one.
Well, I think what's so wonderful, Kate, like what really stands out to me about how your programs are different is like you said, the practicality of it, that you're making delicious, beautiful food that's fast and easy and practical for everyday modern people. Whether you want to be own a raw restaurant or whether you're a busy mom and you just want to eat the best for yourself and and make the best food for your family possible, you're really running the gamut of what people need in their lives. And I know I've like there's so many people that all they're trying to do is just bridge that gap and transition to a plant-based diet, even just a little bit more, even if it's just, 50, 60%. But that first beginner course and the advanced course are perfect. And then for those that are already raw chefs and wanting to open a restaurant, or maybe they already have a restaurant, then the superstar course is more their choice.
Yeah, my thing really is to make it super practical because I think there's a lot of people teaching raw foods,
Yeah.
and then they might really inspire you and they might really excite you, but it's a different thing when you get home.
Yes.
What am I going to eat?
Right.
And that's what I always tell people. It's a different part of your brain. Part of your brain that is sitting here listening to me now isn't the part of your brain that makes a decision about what to eat when you're hungry. So that's the
Yes.
part of your brain we need to reach, and that's what I really try and do is help people feel like when they're leaving the course, they know what they're going to do, they know how they're going to make it work, and they feel like they're empowered with the information that they need to make this work in their lives.
For it to become a lifestyle, not just something that they do occasionally, but it's like this is how we make it a lifestyle. And
Yeah,
because of your long-term experience raising kids in
yeah.
20 years, it's just here's how you do it. That's
Yeah, because I think that's a big difference as well. Is you can do raw foods for 3 months or 6 months or a year, and just do it as a kind of superficial thing, and that's great in itself. But there's a different approach if you want to make it, as you say, sustainable, and you want to make this your lifestyle.
absolutely. Well, what are you looking forward to most about coming to Costa Rica?
Everything. I'm looking forward to being with you. I'm looking forward to being in the jungle. I'm looking forward to the sunshine. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to the amazing villa.
Yes.
Just everything, the beach. Just I can't wait.
What is your definition of health, and what are three things that you can offer people today if they want to start right now to really take their health to the next level, and also dabble in more raw foods and things like that? What would you say?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I would say my definition of health is simply feeling good, feeling happy, and I think that's what everyone's looking for. They're looking how to feel good and feel happy, and we often lose sight of that because we have a tendency to make things really complicated. We have a tendency to come from here, and
Yes.
it's about getting the balance between your heart center and also your gut center, and getting
Yes.
those three centers into balance, and then that's when everything starts to flow, and that's when the magic happens. But we have a tendency to be all up here
Yes.
and make things really complicated, make things really difficult, like I was saying, but it's just making it all really simple. So to me, it's just feeling good in the moment. It's how do I feel right now? Yeah, I'm great. Hey! If you think of your body as like a room and you go in different rooms and different rooms have different atmospheres, so you go in a library and you want to be quiet, or you go in a church, you want to be quiet, you go in a nightclub, you feel all like you want to dance, and like if you go in my body's definitely having a party. There's a party going on in my cells.
Yes, yes. Oh wow. Well, and
uh,
that's one of the things I love about working with you, Kate, is that you understand the spirituality behind it, and that's a huge part of it for you, and also the physical part of it. So for me, being a dancer and teaching Pilates and yoga and doing that on retreat and in certification programs is so important because like you said, especially when we're learning this material, it can get very head focused, and so to be able to have the more physical element as well on retreat, our teacher, during the training program is wonderful as well to reconnect you with your body, and of course you're going to see some improvement in digestion and
yeah.
energy and clarity and all those things during that whole 3 week process.
Yeah, did you want my three
I
things?
do, please.
I think number one. I think number one would be to hydrate, be fully hydrated. So drinking coconut water, green juice, kefir kombucha, superfood milks, medicinal teas, all that kind of stuff. I think that's the most important thing, to get hydrated. I think eating lots of greens, just trying to eat greens at every meal. If you're eating normal food and you're just eating leafy greens, a good green salad at every meal, that's a brilliant thing to do.
Yes.
And I think probably the third thing is just remembering that it's about self-love, and it's about loving yourself and
Mhm.
not beating yourself up and not being hard on yourself, but being patient and kind and just really appreciating this amazing thing called a body that we've been given.
Oh my gosh, I love it, Kate. Oh, that's just fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with me today, and I can't wait to share this information with everyone. And I'll see you in January.
And hopefully see them in Costa Rica.
Yeah!
Yes, I can't wait.
Woo! Thanks, Kate.